Well, hello, everyone. This is Wilson Cole. I'm president of Adams, Evans, and Ross and Backdoor Hires, and I am joined with my lovely daughter and general counsel staff attorney, Samantha Cole. Hey, Sam, how are you doing?
I am doing great. How are you?
Oh, doing fine, doing fine. One of the things that I want to talk about on this particular episode, sometimes we can, in my opinion, get overly serious on the legal side of it, which certainly has a reason, but before it ever gets to legal, in my opinion, it needs to run through collections. Before it needs to run through collections, it kind of needs to run through our client's BS meter. And so let's go ahead and give the 5 top reasons, the best excuses we've heard on why a debtor hasn't paid. You know, one of them, if I tell you what, ladies first, what's the 5th best reason you've ever heard for them not being paid?
Well, this one came after it was turned over to us, and it was, I'm not paying because they turned me over to collections. And I think my favorite was of that is, okay, you weren't paying before you were turned over to collections, so you could have negated this whole issue.
That's a good one. The one more recent that I dealt with, and then we wound up passing it over to you, and I know you're dealing with it there as well, but it's, I'm not paying you because your client won't meet with me so I can give him his check. Now, my concern is if they're wanting to meet you at 11 o'clock at night in a back alley, they're probably not wanting to give you a check. Your 2 thoughts on that ridiculous claim.
I mean, that's one of my favorite because it's these obscure times off of a turnpike, and I'm like, this is coming across a little mafiosa in my opinion.
Well, this client and the debtor both were from New York, so I'm just saying. So it is what it is. Do you have the third? What would be the third on your opinion for the more ridiculous?
I think we always can go back to it's not the same person because they passed a certification exam between the presentation and the hiring.
That one was pretty wild. What Samantha is referencing is one that I was working on. I talked to the attorney, debtor's attorney, and the attorney goes, well, it's not the same person. And it was like, okay, our client, is this it was one that we actually found on our backdoor hire. And it was, well, they're a different person, technically. And as soon as he said technically, it's like, that's legal speak for bullshit. So what do you mean technically? And Sam, go ahead and finish the argument on that.
The argument was the candidate had passed a certification exam for whatever trade they were. I can't remember now. And so they were arguing, since they didn't have that certification at presentation, that it was a completely different person in the eyes under the contract.
Okay. I know I have the number one that I will share. Do you have another one at your fingertips?
I think I always love the argument of, well, they weren't retained by us. They only worked for us for 3 months.
Yeah, and what does retain? Yes, that was the argument. That's pretty good. That may have come close to the one that I'll share. But the argument is, the contract never defined what retained meant. Sam, that is attorney to attorney BS. So I will have you kind of argue.
My argument on that is also, one, the contract says you engage the candidate in any capacity. So at that point, I don't care if you call it retained, clown for hire, whatever the job title or arrangement is, you're paying them in, Cheetos. I don't care. There is some value here.
Well, we had to, the number one reason, and this was one that I had a short-lived Facebook series named, They Said What? But y'all made me stop doing that one. And it was, the attorney basically said, it was our client was a recruiter. and the attorney said, the reason we don't owe your client is that our client retained them to hire candidates. They only sent over 2 qualified candidates, and they were pressed for time, so they hired one of them, and they don't owe our client because they didn't provide enough. Now, the contract didn't say they had to supply 2, 10, 20, or whatever. It says we present somebody, you hire them, a fee is owed. Their argument was they were pressed for time and couldn't wait for more qualified candidates to be hired. Only an attorney, and Sam, this is why attorneys have the reputation they do, is, and this is one thing, a lot of times if an attorney, if they want to argue with a non-attorney, I've always said when they say they're not going to pay you because, whether it's a client, the debtor, you get off the phone, if it's their attorney and they say, I'm not going to pay you because, half the time it's because they do have some legal gotcha that they're trying to portray. The other half of the time is they are saying absolute trash, but since they have a law degree, they're in hopes that the bull that they are flinging is going to intimidate someone.
I mean,
so,
I deal with the attorneys who want to fling it all the time, and what's great is when I can throw back, that's really great, and I'm glad you were able to talk to some recruiter down the street. Except, I've worked with that company for 30 years, or, our company's worked with that company for 30 years, or, I've talked to, this person or that person. Yeah, what you're saying isn't accurate.
No, I agree. So if an attorney for a debtor tells you something, then the reason why they're not going to pay you, call us and take it as a grain of salt. Sometimes they may have a valid point, and it is that legal gotcha. But sometimes it is just absolute BS that they're trying to sling to get you to go away. And, the one that we have now or have had in the past where they say, the contract doesn't define what retained is. It clearly states what retained is. And then the last one is, well, they didn't give us enough qualified candidates, so we hired one because we were in a hurry. So, Sam, any closing?
And if an attorney ever sends you a letter, an email that says, and as the attorney, I'm qualified to speak on this, so please accept this as, a closed matter or whatever, never accept that as a closed matter, because if they truly felt that way, they'd tell you to contact your attorney.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. And that's a good point. If you have someone that is wanting to make an argument, they'll typically say, hey, go ahead, get your attorney to give me a call and resolve it. If they try to bully you with some BS letter that they're the only one qualified to read the stones, chances are you probably are dealing with somebody that either doesn't have the facts, knows the facts, and he may be a wonderful family law attorney, but you're not wanting child custody of the individual's your debtor. You're just wanting an outstanding debt paid. Give us a shout. We'll certainly walk you through and go from there. So, Sam, I appreciate you joining me on the top 5 reasons on why a debtor has, or the top 5 reasons the debtors have given to us and their attorneys have given to us why a bill wasn't paid. But the one that really is probably, if the debtor's wanting to meet you at 11 o'clock at night off a turnpike, you probably don't want to go. But put it this way, if your debtor called me and said, I'm willing to pay your client, meet me on the end of the turnpike at 11 o'clock, I can assure you I wouldn't go. Have a good one. Thanks for joining me, Sam.
Sounds good.